What's up, everybody? Bourbon and Bass is back. Got a new studio here. And those of you who have watched Bourbon and Bass before, it's just two things that I love. Love the histories of bourbon, love bass fishing, of course. In my 6th season of the Bassmaster Elite Series, we're almost halfway home of the 2024 season. So like to talk about that a little bit, like to talk about some of the whiskeys or bourbons that I love and kind of the history and story behind it. So that's where we'll start. Great show today. Talking about one of my favorite bourbons. Of course, anybody who asks me what's my favorite bourbons around the country, I'll always say anything from Buffalo Trace because they do it right. They always have. There's a story behind it. They have an outstanding master distiller there who knows absolutely what he's doing. So I want to talk today a little bit about Stagg Jr. or the no longer Stagg Jr. It was kind of it was a gut punch to a lot of people who really love Stagg Jr. This is one of my favorite ones on the planet. Extremely hot. I mean, depending on the batch, I think they're on batch like 19 or 20 right now. Upper 120s to mid 130s proof-wise. It's very hot, but it doesn't taste as much. It does have that spiciness to it, but the flavor is just incredible in Stagg Jr. Very hard to find, but about a year ago, we started hearing rumors that Stagg Jr. was going away. As you can see on the bottle there, they have the little Junior right next to the last G. And Stagg Jr. was always kind of the little kid of George T. Stagg or the old Papa Stagg. It was just kind of a little bit more affordable, more readily available version of the Stagg, because they say that peak aging of a barrel is somewhere between like 15 and 18 years. The Stagg Jr. has always lived around like that 8 to 9 year range. So the reason behind this, from as far as I can gather, is I think it was 2020 or 2021, they had a batch of Stagg Jr. that the master distiller was not okay with. And they're taking that Junior out of it because they want the Stagg to be more mature. They want to age it the way it should be and not just settle for less. They don't want the 8 to 9 year because they feel like the 15 to 18 year is really where the top primo bourbon is aged at. So that's kind of the reasoning. I don't know if they're ever going to go back to it, if maybe that was just one batch that they were scared to put the Junior name behind because they didn't feel like it was ready. So they did not distill or pull that aged barrels for that particular batch, which I think was batch 19. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it, and I'm kind of curious to see where it goes because what is this going to do in the bourbon industry? Is this going to make it more rare? It needs to age now 15 to 18 years. That's where the George T. Stagg lives, but they still want this. So it's kind of up in the air if it's going to come back because the price range of retail, if you could ever find it, which is almost impossible, is like 50 to 60 bucks. But unlike the George Stagg or the old Papa Stagg, it's much more expensive, and it's just not much of it available. And it really just all dictates on the master distiller when they say it's ready. So that's where that's at. I hate to see the Junior go away just because I love seeing the little Junior next to the G, but if you find them now, it doesn't have the Junior anymore. They do not want to stop the aging process sooner than what is primo perfecto. So that's Buffalo Trace Stagg Jr., one of my all-time favorites. So we'll see what happens with that. So anyway, here we are. Enough of the bourbon side. Bassmaster Elite Series 2024. This was a season for me personally that was just kind of getting back to your roots and just doing neat. You find yourself, especially this day and age and technology change, that you're trying to force something that you're not real either familiar with or really, not just familiar with, but really dialed and keyed in on, and just you kind of forget your roots and kind of where you came from, your actual strengths when it comes to attacking bass. And that's kind of where I've been the last couple of years. I find myself trying to force myself on the forward-facing sonar, and I think it's hurt me at times. I'm not sitting here telling you that there's anything wrong with forward-facing sonar. I'm just saying that's not my strength. That's just not where I came from. And I told myself coming into this year, especially first of the season, Toledo Bend, Lake Fork, Two lakes that I know very well. I have history at both of them, and I wanted to go do me. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to get out there and stare at a screen and play the minute game. Yes, I know I will not compete to win, but I need to get back to me and just doing what got me here, my strengths, growing up, fishing BFLs, and all through the Bassmaster Opens, qualifying for the Elite Series. It's been, you know, just getting back to the roots of that, and that's really what I wanted to do, because my strengths have always been pre-spawn. You know, pre-spawn and anticipation, you know, not necessarily getting the bites in practice, but showing up in a tournament, kind of anticipating where some of these females are going to move up, and that it actually, you know, worked out in both the first two tournaments of the season. Had decent finishes at both of those, and then we went to Harris Chain, and I started staring at the screen, and it bit me. Had a good practice for that thing. Had a really good practice for Harris Chain. I did find live scoping fish that just absolutely during the tournament would not eat. And I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure out what they wanted. They would follow everything, but they would not eat it. And then the light bulb went off, and it's like, that's just not you. I finished 99th at Harris Chain, 99th. Just a couple of people finished lower than me at Harris Chain. And I'm like, I gotta get back to me. I just gotta get back to me. Again, I'm not saying forward-facing sonar shouldn't be in there. I'm just saying that's not me. It's not my strength. Yes, I need to spend more time doing it. I need to become better at it, more efficient, but it wasn't me. I wasn't fishing the way that Derek Hudnall likes and wants and really craves to fish. So went to the St. Johns River, and I said, okay, I'm doing me. I'm not, you know, I really thought that tournament would be running one in Rodman on forward-facing sonar. Some guys did well in there, but it was not. Yeah, y'all saw, you know, big hats out to Corey Johnson, sight fishing a lot of those big fish in the springs that those fish are so heavily pressured. So hats off to him, but I went back to me. Picked up a wacky worm, missile baits 48, buzz bait, chatterbait, big jig, frog, everything, and I got back to me, had a decent finish over there. I had some big time missed opportunities in that tournament at St. John's that I could have done very, very well. Just one of those tournaments that would just, yeah, especially this first couple of days, just seemed like every time I got a big one hooked up, he just found a way to come off, and that's on me. So anyway, that's just about getting back to the roots. So, you know, I just kind of got a few things here together of kind of my roots and the things that I started going to, you know, a Spro Frog always is just a go-to that we just get away from sometimes. You know, one of the big keys at the St. Johns River at times was punching. And I was 3/4 ounce missile baits, Ike flip out, missile jigs flip out with the missile baits flip out. It's a solid green pumpkin with that big chunky deal on the back of it. Good rate of fall. Sunline 50-pound. A Sage Eye braid, just an awesome, you know, especially post-spawn, that you want something that falls in front of them really fast, got good action to it, kind of makes those fish react to it. And then, of course, one of my staples, you know, one of the things that I can never get away from in my life, if I do, somebody needs to shoot me, of course, is a missile-based D-bomb. This thing has put more big fish in my boat than anything in my entire lifetime. It's just something it's just family, you know, and I found myself getting away with it. Caught a lot of quality fish at St. Johns River on that as well. And then old school buzzbait. You guys saw me post a video with the old school buzzbait. I like to throw just a horny toad on the back of it. It's just something to get away from. This time of the year, big ones will eat it. Again, 50-pound Sunline Sage Eye braid. You know, that Victory 7.3 MHF by St. Croix, and of course their new 7 reels, the GF series. These things are incredibly smooth. I can make very, very long, accurate casts. The drag systems on them are incredible. And I just said, you know what, I got to get back to myself. And that's what I've done. 3 of the 4 tournaments I've done myself. The one tournament that I chose to go to that forward-facing sonar deal, and it just didn't work. You know, I felt lost. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing at times because the fish were there. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get them to eat. It's a different game, guys. And so, you know, you adapt or you go be yourself. And I think the people that are struggling right now, they're not struggling because they're not good at forward-facing sonar. I really believe that a lot of guys in this industry are struggling right now some of the guys that are not used to struggling are just kind of, and I've been there a couple of times in the last few years, it is don't get away from yourself as much as you think you need to. Go do you, go do yourself, fish what's in front of you, whether it's forward-facing sonar or on the bank or flipping heavy vegetation or skipping docks or whatever it is. You know, it's very important to not lose sight of yourself and not remember what got you to where you are right now. And that's something that I've struggled with too. So I'm doing me, I'm doing myself. That's what I'm doing this season. I'm right around the classic cut right now after 4 tournaments. Yes, I've made 3 top 50s and 3 cuts in 4 tournaments, but I absolutely bombed one of them. I finished 99th Paris chain, and that's just what you have to avoid. So we got Lake Murray coming up. I'm actually leaving here very soon, the next day or so for Lake Murray. That's South Carolina. That place has got 'em. Can I tell you, it's got 'em. If you rewatch the video from Bassmaster Live from last year, that place is so healthy, but that is a blueback herring lake, and those fish are very, very hard to catch. They're very educated, they're very keyed in on that shad. But I think you're going to see a different tournament this year. You guys saw, people like, Koya Fujita, really just scoping out there in the nomad, for the big nomads out there in the middle of nowhere, really. You're going to see a lot of that, but I think you're going to see some other little key things play that you didn't see before that are not related to just the forward-facing sonar. So I think it's going to be a fun tournament to fish, a fun one to watch. I'm looking forward to getting over there and getting on the road. But guys, thank you guys for watching. Stagg Jr, getting back to the basics, guys. That's where we all need to be. We got to remember, don't lose ourselves. Remember what got you there. Don't forget the past, especially your strengths and the things you really love doing. So guys, thank you guys for watching Bourbon and Bass right here. We will be back soon and tight lines. Cheers, and hope you guys have a great rest of the spring, and talk to you guys soon. Dream big.